Supreme Commander Valak stood motionless on the observation deck of the Imperial flagship. His four eyes stared at the small blue planet displayed on the massive screen. It looked so insignificant, so primitive. The species that inhabited it had barely begun to explore their own solar system. By all accounts, they should have been easy to study without detection. Yet somehow they had managed to capture one of the Kiran Empire's most advanced stealth probes. This was unprecedented in the Empire's 10,000 years of galactic conquest. "The data is confirmed, Supreme Commander," said Intelligence Officer Zareth as he entered the chamber. His metallic exoskeleton clicked softly against the polished floor. "The humans not only detected our probe, but managed to disable its self-destruct mechanism. They now possess intact Kiran technology." Valak's upper eyes narrowed while his lower ones remained fixed on the planet. "Impossible. Their technological level is at least 3 centuries behind the minimum threshold for detecting our stealth systems. Nevertheless, they did it," Zareth replied. His mandibles clicked nervously, a sign of distress rarely seen in the disciplined officer. "We have visual confirmation from our remaining probes. The humans transported the device to a secure facility in a region they call Nevada." Valak turned all 4 eyes toward his intelligence officer. "How? By what means did these primitives detect technology they should not even comprehend?" Zareth activated a small projector on his wrist. A holographic image appeared between them, showing 2 humans in white lab coats examining equipment. These 2 humans, designated Gary Phillips and Diane Scott according to their identification badges, created a detection system that should not have worked. They combined their primitive radar technology with something they call quantum fluctuation meters. The combination somehow created an entirely new detection method our stealth systems were not designed to counter. Valak felt a sensation he had not experienced in centuries: unease. Improvisation. Interesting. "There is more, Supreme Commander. The humans are already attempting to understand the probe's propulsion system. Their progress is concerning." The doors to the observation deck slid open again. High Counselor Drazek entered, his ceremonial armor gleaming under the ship's lights. His massive form towered over both Valak and Zareth. "I have reviewed the reports," Drazek announced without preamble. "The solution is simple. We must initiate immediate elimination protocol. These humans have seen too much." Valak's secondary heart began to beat faster, a biological reaction to stress that he immediately controlled. "With respect, High Counselor, I recommend caution. These humans have demonstrated unusual capabilities. Perhaps we should study them further before taking action." Drazek's upper lip curled back, revealing sharp teeth. "Study them? They are barely out of their Stone Age. They still burn fossil fuels and kill each other over imaginary borders. They are nothing. Yet they captured our probe," Valak countered quietly. On the screen surrounding them, images from Earth appeared. Cities full of light and movement. Aircraft that seemed too simple to fly, yet somehow did. Humans building, creating, arguing, fighting, and making peace, all at a pace that seemed frantic by Kiran standards. "Look at their advancement timeline," Valak continued, gesturing to a display showing human technological progress. "From first flight to space travel in less than 70 years. From basic computing to global information networks in 50. Their rate of technological advancement is unprecedented." Drazek waved a dismissive hand. "All the more reason to eliminate them now, before they become an actual threat." Zareth activated another hologram, this one showing the Nevada facility where the captured probe was being studied. The image zoomed in on Dr. Gary Phillips. The human was speaking excitedly to several others, pointing at components of the Kiran device. "Our algorithms predict they will understand our power systems within 60 days, Zareth reported. "Weapons technology within 120. On Earth at that very moment, Dr. Gary Phillips could barely contain his excitement as he addressed the team of scientists and military personnel gathered around the alien device. "The energy signature is unlike anything we've ever seen," he explained, pointing to readings on a nearby monitor. "It's not nuclear, not chemical, not even antimatter as we understand it." Diane Scott, the military liaison assigned to the project, studied the readings with intense focus. Unlike the excitable scientists, her expression remained calm, but her mind raced with the military implications. "Can we replicate it?" she asked. Gary ran a hand through his thinning hair. "Maybe, eventually. What's amazing is how their systems are integrated. It's elegant, but also, I don't know, understandable. Like they think similar to us in some ways." In a different part of the world, Frank Winters, the Secretary of Defense, was being briefed on the situation. His face grew increasingly grave as he reviewed the reports. "And we're certain this is extraterrestrial?" he asked the nervous aide who had brought the classified folders. "Yes, sir. Absolutely certain. Materials unknown on Earth. Technology beyond our current capabilities. But Dr. Phillips believes we can understand it." Frank closed the folder. "Get me the President and the Joint Chiefs, and contact Susan Miller at the UN. If these aliens sent one probe, they'll send more. We need to prepare." Back on the Chiron flagship, the debate continued. Observer Nixus had joined the discussion, bringing cultural and psychological assessments of the humans. "They are fractious and divided," Nixus reported, her voice softer than the male Chirons. "Yet they show remarkable unity when faced with external threats. Their entertainment media suggests they have long imagined contact with non-Earth species, usually in the form of conflict. So they are prepared for war," Drazik said with satisfaction. "All the more reason to strike first." "No," Nixus corrected gently. "They are prepared for the idea of war, but they also show consistent themes of seeking peaceful contact. They are complicated." Valix turned back to the view screen showing Earth. "I propose a compromise. We will conduct closer reconnaissance, send infiltration teams to key locations, assess their true capabilities and responses. Then we decide whether elimination is necessary." Drazik growled but nodded reluctantly. "Agreed. But I want elimination protocols prepared and ready. At the first sign that these humans are more trouble than they're worth, we sterilize the planet." As the Chiron leaders made their plans, Dr. Gary Phillips made a breakthrough on Earth. He called Diane Scott over to his workstation with barely controlled excitement. "Look at this," he said, pointing to a simulation on his screen. "I think I understand how their communication system works. It's using principles similar to quantum entanglement, but with an efficiency we never thought possible." Diane's eyes widened slightly. "Can we adapt this technology? Use it ourselves?" Gary nodded slowly. "I think so, yes. And if we can understand this part of their technology, we might understand the rest," Diane finished his thought. Neither human realized that they had just taken the first step on a path that would ultimately lead to the fall of the mighty Chiron Empire. And neither did the Chiron, who still believed themselves to be the undisputed masters of the galaxy. The humans were about to prove them wrong. Observer Nixus moved silently through the human military facility. Her advanced cloaking technology should have made her completely invisible to the primitive humans. For the past 3 cycles, she had infiltrated various Earth installations, with ease. No one had detected her presence as she gathered intelligence on human military capabilities and psychological responses. Until now. "Hey, did you see that?" A human security guard named Ted Murphy pointed toward the corridor where Nixus had just passed. The air kind of rippled. His fellow guard laughed. "You're seeing things again, Ted. Too much coffee." But Ted wasn't laughing. He reached for a small device clipped to his belt, a modified atmospheric sensor that the humans had developed after studying the captured Chiron probe. He checked the readings and frowned. "There's something here," he insisted. "Look at these particle fluctuations." Nixus froze. This should not be possible. The human's device was crude, practically homemade. It had no business detecting her presence. She needed to leave immediately and report this disturbing development. Back on the Chiron command ship, Supreme Commander Valix listened to Nixus's report with growing concern. "The human spotted you?" "How?" Valix demanded. "He used a modified sensor," Nixus explained. "Crude but effective. It appears they have already adapted technology from our captured probe to create new detection methods." Intelligence Officer Zereth clicked his mandibles nervously. This confirms our fears. The humans learn at an alarming rate. High Counselor Drazek pounded his armored fist on the conference table. I warned you. We should have eliminated them immediately. Now they grow more dangerous by the day. Valix turned to a holographic display showing the Area 51 facility where the captured probe was being studied. Show me their progress. The display zoomed in, revealing human scientists working frantically on various components of the Chiron technology. At the center of the activity was Dr. Gary Phillips, working alongside engineer Maria Rodriguez. They had disassembled the probe's power system and were attempting to recreate it using Earth materials. Look at this, Maria said, pointing to a circuit design on her tablet. If we reconfigure the quantum pathways like this, we might be able to generate a similar energy signature using our materials. Gary nodded excitedly. Yes, and if we can power it, we might be able to understand how their shield technology works. Nearby, defense contractor Paul Jackson was already designing potential countermeasures based on what they had learned. If their weapons use this type of energy modulation, Paul explained to Diane Scott, then theoretically, we could create shields that disrupt the specific wave patterns. Diane nodded. How quickly could we deploy something like that to our major installations? Paul considered the question. With emergency funding and global cooperation, maybe 2 months for a basic version. On the other side of the world, diplomat Linda Chen was working tirelessly to forge an unprecedented international coalition. In a secure conference room at the United Nations, she addressed representatives from nations that were historically hostile to one another. The evidence has been shared with all of your governments, Linda said firmly. This is not a hoax or a drill. We have confirmed the existence of an advanced alien civilization with technology far beyond our own, and they are watching us. The Russian representative leaned forward. What proof do we have that they are hostile? Linda displayed images from advanced telescopes showing the Chiron ships in orbit around distant planets. Their formation is consistent with military positioning. They're not here for friendly conversation. The Chinese representative nodded slowly. We have detected their probes as well. Our scientists have been working on countermeasures, as have ours, added the European Union representative. Linda smiled. For the first time in human history, all major powers were united against a common threat. Then I propose we pool our resources and knowledge. Humanity must stand together. Back in space, the Chiron continued their surveillance. Observer Nixus was now studying human media and communications, trying to understand their psychology. They are fascinating, she told Commander Valix privately. Despite their primitive technology, they show remarkable adaptability. And their fiction. They have been imagining contact with alien species for centuries. In many ways, they have been preparing for this moment. Valix studied the reports with concern. And in their fiction, how do these encounters typically end? Varied outcomes, Nixus replied. But there is a common theme of humans prevailing against overwhelming odds through unconventional tactics. They seem to perform best when underestimated. Tactical. Officer Rezix joined the conversation. High Counselor Drazek has convinced the Council to approve a limited strike. We are to test their defenses and response capabilities. Valix's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of deep thought. I would advise against this, but the Council has spoken. Prepare the attack fleet, but use minimal force. I want to observe their response patterns. On Earth, Ted Murphy's detection of the cloaked alien had set off a chain reaction through human defense networks. Within days, similar sensors were being deployed at critical facilities worldwide. Scout leader Krex discovered this the hard way when 2 members of his infiltration team were detected and nearly captured at a human research facility in Japan. Their adaptation rate is unprecedented, Krex reported, after barely escaping. They identified our cloaking frequencies and recalibrated their sensors accordingly. Communications specialist Vendra, who had been monitoring human transmissions, noticed something else concerning. Their communication patterns have changed. They've developed new encryption protocols and are coordinating globally. They know we're here, and they're preparing. While the Chiron debated their next move, humans were working feverishly to prepare. In a massive underground facility, Maria Rodriguez made a breakthrough with the alien power systems. "We did it," she exclaimed, watching as the small prototype glowed with energy. "It's not as efficient as theirs, but it works." Paul Jackson immediately began integrating the power system into his shield prototypes. "If this works, we might be able to defend our key installations. Not perfectly, but enough to buy us time." In orbit around Mars, Captain Lorvex prepared his attack fleet. "All ships report ready, Tactical Officer Rezix. Attack formation established. Awaiting final orders." Rezix transmitted the Council's authorization. "You may proceed with the limited strike as planned. Target their military installations only. Assess their defense capabilities and response time." Lorvex's upper eyes narrowed. "And if they surrender?" "The Chiron Empire does not accept surrender from primitive species," Rezix replied coldly. "This is merely a test before the full invasion. Remember, they are nothing but primitives who got lucky with our probe. They pose no real threat to the mighty Chiron Empire." As the Chiron attack fleet moved into position, early warning systems on Earth detected their approach. Alarm bells rang in military installations worldwide. "Multiple objects approaching Earth at high speed," reported a technician at Space Command. "Definitely not asteroids. They're changing course. This is it. First contact is about to become first combat." Around the world, humans prepared for a fight they knew they might not win. But they would not go down easily. The shields were deployed, weapons were readied, and for the first time in history, all of humanity stood as one. Chiu. Chiron were about to learn that underestimating humans was a grave mistake. Captain Lorvex watched from the command deck as his attack fleet approached the blue planet. 20 Chiron warships against a primitive world that had barely reached its own moon. It should have been an easy victory, a simple demonstration of power before the full invasion force arrived. "Begin the attack," Lorvex ordered. "Target their primary military installations as planned." The Chiron ships fired their first volley of plasma torpedoes. Brilliant streaks of energy cut through Earth's atmosphere, heading toward military bases in North America, Asia, and Europe. By all calculations, these weapons should have completely destroyed the human defenses. Instead, something unexpected happened. As the plasma torpedoes neared their targets, energy shields flickered to life around the installations. The shields were crude by Chiron standards, blue-white domes of flickering energy, but they were undeniably based on Chiron technology. "Impossible," Weapons Officer Thralix whispered. "They've adapted our shield technology in mere months." Lorvex stared at the tactical display in disbelief. "How effective are their shields?" Thralix analyzed the data quickly. "They're absorbing approximately 60% of our weapon energy. Primitive, but they shouldn't have been able to create them at all." The shields weren't perfect. Several installations suffered damage from the attack, but they had survived what should have been complete destruction, and the humans were already. Responding Air Force bases around the world launched fighter jets. They were painfully primitive compared to Chiron ships, but there were hundreds of them. And they were piloted by humans who had spent their entire lives training for aerial combat. Among these pilots was Alan Wright, flying an experimental fighter equipped with weapons modified based on the captured Chiron technology. He led his squadron toward the alien ships, his voice steady over the radio. "Remember the plan," he told his pilots. "Their ships are more advanced, but we have numbers and maneuverability. Use the modified missiles only when you have a clear shot at their energy nodes." On the ground, President Lisa Peterson coordinated the global response from a secure bunker. Military leaders from around the world were connected via secure video feed, a united human response unlike anything in history. "Chinese missile batteries are ready," reported the Chinese general. "Our scientists have modified the warheads as suggested by the international research team. Russian space-based platforms are in position," added another military leader. "We can deploy on your command." President Peterson looked at each face on the screen. "We need to time this perfectly. When I give the word, everyone launches simultaneously. They won't expect a coordinated global response." Back in orbit, Captain Lorvex was growing frustrated. The human fighters were like insects, too small and numerous to target effectively. And while they couldn't penetrate the Chiron ship's main shields, they were causing damage to external sensors and weapon ports. "This is taking too long," Lorvex growled. "Prepare the heavy plasma cannons. We'll end this quickly." Before the cannons could fire, his tactical officer shouted a warning. Multiple launches detected from the planet's surface, hundreds of missiles, all launching simultaneously. The human counterattack had begun. Missiles streaked upward from launch sites across the planet. Most were conventional weapons that posed little threat to Chiron shields, but mixed among them were missiles with warheads modified based on the captured alien technology. "Their missiles pose no threat to our shields," Lorvex said confidently, but he was wrong. The modified warheads detonated against the Chiron shields in carefully timed sequence, creating resonance patterns that weakened the shield energy. It was a technique that showed a deep understanding of Chiron shield frequencies, knowledge the humans should not have had. Alan Wright saw his opportunity. "Squadron 3, follow me. Target the ship with the weakened shields." His fighter dove toward one of the Chiron vessels, launching a specially modified missile directly at a point where the shields had momentarily failed. The explosion tore through the alien ship's hull, causing secondary explosions throughout its structure. For the first time in living memory, a Chiron warship had been damaged by a species they were attempting to conquer. On the planet below, Nicole Edwards worked frantically in her laboratory. The xenobiologist had been studying tissue samples from a captured Chiron soldier, a scout who had been injured and captured during a failed infiltration mission. What she was discovering could change the course of the conflict. "Their cellular structure is unlike anything on Earth," she explained to the military observers in her lab. "But they have a critical weakness. Their brain chemistry is extremely sensitive to specific frequency patterns. We might be able to develop a non-lethal weapon that could incapacitate them." In space, the battle was not going as the Chiron had expected. 3 of their ships had been damaged, and the humans' coordinated defense was proving surprisingly effective. Captain Lorvex made a difficult decision. "All ships, prepare to withdraw to regroup position," he ordered. "This is not defeat," he added quickly, seeing the shock on his crew's faces. "Tactical withdrawal to assess and adapt." As the Chiron ships began to pull back, humans on Earth celebrated their first victory. But military leaders like Frank Winters knew this was just the beginning. "They'll be back," he warned President Peterson, "and next time they'll come with more ships and new tactics." Dr. Gary Phillips nodded in agreement. "We need to push harder on developing our own versions of their technology. The captured ship fragments will help enormously." During the battle, a damaged Chiron scout ship had crashed relatively intact in the Pacific Ocean. Human submarines were already moving to recover it. Each piece of alien technology gave humanity another tool for survival. On the Chiron command vessel, Supreme Commander Valix received Captain Lorvex's report with growing concern. "You're telling me that a primitive species with barely a century of powered flight damaged 3 of our warships and forced a retreat?" Valix's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, showing his agitation. "They adapted our technology far more quickly than we anticipated," Lorvex explained. "And their tactics were unexpected. They fight with a desperation and creativity we rarely encounter." Medical Officer Jennings, who had been treating the wounded from the damaged ships, added her observations. "Their weapons were specifically calibrated to our shield frequencies, and reports from the ground indicate they are studying our biology. A captured scout claims they treated his wounds instead of killing him." Valix turned to the tactical display. "They study us even as we study them." High Counselor Drazek entered the command chamber, his armor dented from a recent fit of rage. "This humiliation will not stand. I have contacted the High Council. They have authorized the deployment of the World Killer weapon. These humans will be eradicated completely." Valix's secondary heart skipped a beat. "The World Killer? For a species that has merely defended itself? This goes against our code of honorable conquest. They are too dangerous to be allowed to develop further," Drazek snarled. "The decision is made. The World Killer will arrive in 3 cycles. Then we will see how these humans adapt to the death of their planet." What none of the Kiran leaders realized was that their defeat in this first battle had only strengthened humanity's resolve. And in laboratories around the world, human scientists were making breakthroughs that would soon threaten the very existence of the Kiran Empire itself. High Counselor Drazek stood before the holographic display of Earth, his four eyes narrowed in hatred. 3 days had passed since the humiliating retreat of the Kiran attack fleet. 3 days of watching the humans grow stronger as they studied the alien technology from the downed scout ship. The World Killer will arrive in 14 hours, Drazek announced to the command staff. Soon these troublesome humans will be nothing but a memory. Supreme Commander Valix watched from the side of the room, his discomfort obvious to those who knew him well. In 10,000 years of conquest, the Kiran had only used the World Killer weapon 5 times, and only against species that posed a genuine threat to the Empire. Using it against humans who had merely defended their planet felt dishonorable. When the meeting ended, Valix retreated to his private quarters. There, he made a decision that would change the course of Kiran history. He activated a secure communication channel to Earth. On the planet below, military leaders from around the world were gathered in a reinforced bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains. They were discussing defensive options when an alert sounded. "We're receiving a transmission," a communications officer announced. It's coming from the Kiran command ship." President Lisa Peterson stepped forward. "Put it through." A holographic image appeared in the center of the room, a four-eyed alien in ornate armor. "I am Supreme Commander Valix of the Chiron Empire," the alien said in carefully translated English. "I speak against the orders of my government. In 14 of your hours, a weapon will arrive in your solar system, capable of rendering your planet uninhabitable. You cannot stop it with your current technology." Stunned silence filled the room. Then Frank Winters spoke. "Why are you telling us this?" Valix's secondary eyes blinked slowly. "In 10,000 years of conquest, the Kiran have followed a code of honor. Your species has earned the right to fight, not to be exterminated without warning. I cannot stop what is coming, but perhaps you can." The transmission ended abruptly. For a moment, no one spoke. Then President Peterson turned to the assembled leaders. "We have 14 hours to save humanity," she said simply. "What are our options?" Dr. Gary Phillips and engineer Maria Rodriguez had been working on a project they had believed would take months to complete. Now they had hours. "The warp drive prototype isn't ready," Maria explained, gesturing to the experimental engine built from reverse-engineered Kiran technology. "It's stable in tests, but we haven't installed it in an actual ship yet." "Then we work faster," Gary replied. "Karen Mitchell can pilot it. She's been training in the simulator for weeks." Across the facility, Nicole Edwards had made a breakthrough. In her xenobiology research, the Kiran tissue samples had revealed a crucial weakness. Their neural pathways are highly sensitive to specific frequencies, she explained to Daniel Powell, leader of the Special Forces team being assembled for a desperate mission. "This bioweapon won't kill them, but it will temporarily disrupt their nervous systems, enough to incapacitate them." Daniel examined the delivery system, small devices that could be attached to key points in a Kiran ship. "So we get aboard their command ship, plant these, and activate them?" "Yes," Nicole confirmed, "but you'll need to reach the command ship first." The plan took shape quickly. A small team would use the experimental warp ship to reach the Kiran command vessel. While Daniel's Special Forces team deployed the bioweapon, Karen Mitchell would attempt to access the Kiran systems and find a way to stop the World Killer. It was a suicide mission, and everyone knew it. As the hours ticked by, Maria and her team worked frantically to install the warp drive in the prototype ship, a cobbled-together vessel that combined human and Kiran technology. It wasn't pretty, but it might work. "The drive is installed," Maria announced, wiping sweat from her forehead. "But I can only guarantee one jump. After that, we'll be in the middle of the Kiran fleet," Karen finished. "I understand." The Special Forces team prepared for the mission. Sam Wilson, the weapons specialist, modified their equipment based on what they had learned about Kiran biology. Laura Taylor, the communications expert, studied the encryption codes that had been extracted from captured Kiran technology. If I can access their communications network, Laura explained, I might be able to create confusion once the bioweapon is deployed. As the mission team made final preparations, President Peterson addressed them. What you're attempting has never been done before, she said. Not just by humans, but by any species the Kiran have encountered. You are carrying the hopes of not just your countries, but of all humanity. Whatever happens today, history will remember your courage. On the Kiran command ship, Supreme Commander Valix was being placed under guard. His unauthorized communication with the humans had been discovered. Your actions border on treason, High Counselor Drazek growled. You will be confined to quarters until the High Council determines your punishment. As guards led Valix away, he noticed something on the sensor displays. A small energy signature appearing suddenly near the Kiran fleet. An energy signature that shouldn't have been possible. They've developed warp capability, he whispered, a mixture of awe and satisfaction in his voice. The experimental human ship emerged from its warp jump directly beside the Kiran command vessel. Before the aliens could react, the ship attached itself to the hull, using magnetic clamps designed based on Kiran technology. Alarms blared throughout the alien vessel. Security breach in Section 12, a voice announced. Unknown vessel has attached to the hull. Inside the makeshift airlock, Daniel Powell led his team into the Kiran ship. They moved quickly, following the schematics that had been extracted from captured data. Their mission: reach the central environmental control systems and deploy the bioweapon. Meanwhile, Karen Mitchell and Laura Taylor headed toward the command ship's communication center. If their plan worked, they would access the controls for the incoming world killer weapon. Engineer Tyvix was the first to realize the full implications of what was happening. Supreme Commander, he called out, forgetting that Valix was under guard. The humans have developed warp travel. This is impossible. Their technological level cannot support such advancement. Guard Captain Zelvax organized defense teams to hunt down the human intruders. They are primitive beings, he reminded his soldiers. Dangerous, but primitive. Show no mercy. What the Kiran would soon discover was that when pushed to the brink of extinction, humans became the most dangerous species in the galaxy. As Daniel's team planted the bioweapon devices throughout the ship, Karen and Laura reached the communications center. Using the knowledge gained from studying Chiron technology, they began to access the alien systems. The world killer is approaching, Laura reported, reading the alien data displays. We have less than 30 minutes. Karen's fingers flew over the alien controls. I think I've found its command protocols. Now we just need to figure out how to... An energy blast struck the wall beside them. 3 Kiran soldiers had discovered them. The final confrontation had begun, and the fate of Earth hung in the balance. Karen Mitchell ducked behind an alien console as energy blasts scorched the wall behind her. 3 Kiran soldiers advanced into the communications center, their weapons raised. Laura Taylor crouched nearby, clutching the device they needed to interface with the world killer's controls. We need more time, Laura whispered. Just a few more minutes to access the command protocols. Karen nodded, then spoke into her communication device. Daniel, we're pinned down in the communications center. The bioweapon, is it ready? Elsewhere on the massive Kiran command ship, Daniel Powell and his team had finished placing the final bioweapon device. All devices planted, he confirmed. Activating now. Daniel pressed the activation control. Throughout the ship, the devices began emitting the precise frequency that Nicole Edwards had identified as the Kiran nervous system's weakness. The effect was immediate. The 3 Kiran soldiers advancing on Karen and Laura suddenly stopped. Their weapons clattered to the floor as they clutched their heads, mandibles clicking in distress. Throughout the ship, similar scenes played out as Kiran crew members collapsed or staggered, their nervous systems overwhelmed by the carefully tuned frequencies. It's working, Karen exclaimed. She rushed to the main control console. Laura, now's our chance. With the Kiran temporarily incapacitated, they worked quickly to access the world killer controls. Laura connected their interface device, translating the alien command protocols into something they could understand. The World Killer is less than 15 minutes from activation range, Laura reported, studying the alien displays. Once it reaches that position, we won't be able to stop it. Karen's fingers moved rapidly over the controls. I think I can redirect it, but I need the command authorization codes. On the ship's detention level, Supreme Commander Valek felt the effects of the bioweapon. The pain was intense, but as a veteran of many campaigns, he had trained to resist such attacks. He remained conscious even as his guards collapsed. The door to his cell slid open. Sam Wilson, the human weapons specialist, stood in the doorway. Supreme, Commander Valek? Sam asked cautiously. We need your help. Valek struggled to his feet. The World Killer. You seek to stop it. Sam nodded. Can you help us? I will, Valek decided. What the High Council is doing dishonors the Kiran tradition of fair conquest. In the communications center, Karen and Laura were running out of time when Sam arrived with Supreme Commander Valek. The authorization codes, Valek said, moving to the console despite his obvious pain. I can provide them. Valek entered a complex sequence into the alien controls. The display changed, showing the approaching World Killer weapon. A massive device hurtling toward Earth. We can't destroy it from here, Valek explained. But we can redirect it. Karen studied the controls. Where can we send it that it won't harm anyone? Your system's sun, Valek suggested. It will be destroyed without causing harm. Together they entered the new coordinates. The World Killer's trajectory slowly began to change, turning away from Earth and toward the sun. We did it, Laura whispered. Then the alarms began to sound. Emergency systems are detecting the bioweapon, Valek explained. The ship is initiating countermeasures. The effect will not last much longer. Daniel's voice came over the communication device. We need to leave now. The Kiran are beginning to recover, and they've sealed the docking bay where our ship is attached. Karen looked at Valek. Come with us. They'll execute you for helping us. Valek's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. My place is here. I must face the consequences of my actions. He pulled up a new display on the console. There is another way off this ship. Escape pods in Section 22. I can grant you access. As Kiran soldiers throughout the ship began to recover, the human team raced toward the escape pods. They encountered resistance, but the lingering effects of the bioweapon gave them an advantage against the still disoriented aliens. High Counselor Drazek, who had been in a shielded section of the ship, was furious when he learned what had happened. He stormed onto the command deck where Valek had returned voluntarily. Traitor! Drazek roared. You have doomed us all. I have saved our honor, Valek replied calmly. These humans deserved a fair fight, not extermination. Drazek struck Valek with an armored fist. Your treachery will not save them. I am ordering all ships to attack Earth immediately. We will destroy their civilization the old-fashioned way. On the display they watched as the human escape pod raced away from the command ship. But instead of heading toward Earth, it was moving in another direction. Where are they going? Drazek demanded. Valek smiled slightly. They are clever, these humans. Watch and learn. The human escape pod approached the World Killer weapon, which was now on its new course toward the sun. The pod matched velocity with the massive device. Inside the cramped escape pod, Karen Mitchell looked at her team. Phase 2. Sam, are the modifications ready? Sam nodded, holding up a device they had constructed using parts from their ship and the escape pod. Ready. If Dr. Edwards' calculations are correct, this will broadcast the bioweapon frequency to every Kiran ship in range. And the message? Karen asked, turning to Laura. Laura connected her communication device to the pod systems. Recorded and ready to transmit on all Kiran frequencies. Karen took a deep breath. Do it. Sam activated the device as Laura launched the transmission. The bioweapon frequency, now amplified by the World Killer's own communication array, spread throughout the Kiran fleet. At the same time, every ship received the same message in their own language. This is humanity. We have redirected your world killer weapon and can deploy this incapacitating frequency at any time. We offer peace and cooperation. The alternative is mutual destruction. The choice is yours. On the Kiran command ship, Drazek watched in horror as his crew once again collapsed around him. The shielded command center protected him from the effects, but the rest of the fleet was helpless. Impossible, he whispered. They've weaponized the world killer against us. Valak stepped forward, his posture straight despite his injuries. The humans could have destroyed us. Instead, they offer peace. This is not the action of a species that deserves extinction. Grand Admiral Crixos, supreme leader of all Kiran forces, had arrived from the homeworld to witness what should have been an easy conquest. Instead, he found his mighty fleet paralyzed by a species that had been using steam power just 2 centuries ago. 10,000 years, Crixos said slowly. 10,000 years of Kiran conquest, and never have we encountered a species like these humans. He turned to Valak. You believe they are sincere in their offer of peace? I do, Valak replied. They value life, even the lives of their enemies. It is a strength, not a weakness as we have always believed. Crixos made the decision that would change the course of galactic history. Open a channel to the humans. Tell them the Kiran Empire wishes to discuss terms of peace. And so it came to pass that humanity avoided extinction and gained a place among the stars. The Kiran, for the first time in their history, found themselves respecting a species they had intended to conquer. In the years that followed, the Galactic Cooperative was formed, with humans and Kiran as founding members. Earth scientists like Dr. Gary Phillips and Nicole Edwards worked alongside Kiran scientists to advance technology for the benefit of all species. The bioweapon was destroyed as a gesture of goodwill, its formula sealed away in case it was ever needed again. Observer Nyxus became the official Kiran historian of what they now called the Human Revelation. She often told young Chiron the story of how a supposedly primitive species had changed the Empire forever. And that, Nyxus would conclude, is how we ultimately fell to the humans, not through defeat in battle, though they proved themselves formidable warriors. We fell because they showed us a better way. They taught us that true strength lies not in conquest but in cooperation, not in domination, but in diversity. The humans defeated us by making us better than we were.